morning. You're watching Market Fatafat right here on ET now. I'm Mubina Kapasi. This is a show where we flag off all the big movers and shakers today in trade. Before we do that, a quick look at what the market is up to, and we are flattening out, giving up all those initial gains. 11,600 just about being held on to. The Sensex gaining 0.2%. This time around, the broader markets are having a bit of a better run. Well, let's continue and start off with the countdown then of the big movers and shakers. We have with us Pranay Jain, ET Now's research analyst, Kunal Bothra on the technicals, and we're also going to be joined by Hemain Kaparia of KR Choksi Securities. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining in. And let's start off with the big mover in trade and big newsmaker, ICICI Bank. Pranay, what's the street verdict?
Well, the street verdict is that it's a mixed set, and there is a positive overtone to it. Aggressive write-offs will basically mean that impaired loans will reduce, and going forward the management has given positive commentary on loan growth and improvement in NIMs as well. The fact that brokerages like Morgan Stanley have an overweight rating with a buy target of 530 implies very good upside from the current levels. They believe that the valuations are also very attractive compared to other private sector lenders, especially in light of what has happened with Yes Bank, and therefore most of the brokerages have given a thumbs up on the results. The stock though is trading a little soft in trade right now.
All right, so that's the view on ICICI Bank and what the brokerage community has to say about the numbers. A quick look at the OMC space, because there seems to be quite a fall coming by after yesterday's surge in a couple of these names. BPCL, etc. had seen, remember, quite a rise. But overnight, we did see a rebound in crude prices. In fact, Brent went beyond $71 per barrel. So immense volatility seen in Brent prices. Additionally, there's also that news that now that election season is over, we may be seeing a sharp surge come by in petrol and diesel prices back home as well. But yeah, for now, of course, I think it's purely a technical move that you are seeing a sharp drop coming by after the rise we saw yesterday in trade. So OMCs once again are in focus as big movers. Kunal, IndusInd Bank, today again some pricing action seen over there.
So yes, Mubina, and surprisingly from 1800, where the stock at that point of time looked extremely strong, it's corrected till almost 1500 levels. Now in the last 4 weeks, this has been a drastic change of trend for the stock price of IndusInd Bank, and this also puts into question mark the entire rally which the stock had been going through, I think, the month of February and March. So I think this should be a very interesting turn of events for the stock price. It's now very close to breaking that support of 1500 mark, and I think if the stock breaks that level, it could be a trigger of yet another 100 to 120 rupees correction post those levels. So I believe IndusInd Bank should be onto traders' radar. A break and close below 1500 levels could trigger another 8 to 10% sell-off into the stock price. Okay,
so that's the view on IndusInd Bank. It's down today by 0.4%. Hemain, let's talk about Vedanta. It's expected to come out with its results today. Ahead of that, we are seeing some green on the screen.
Yes, I think frankly speaking, Mubina, stock is in a short-term downtrend, but we've been down for almost now some 24 trading sessions. Stock is getting oversold. The downside appears to be a bit limited. I wouldn't like to second guess the results because movements could be volatile, but I would suggest a hold with a stop loss of 163. A recovery seems to be underway and it doesn't seem to be over yet.
Okay, that's the view on Vedanta. It's higher by 1.1%. Again, a bounce seen in some of these metal names. Pranay, Airtel delivered good numbers today. However, the stock is a bit sluggish.
Well, yes, and there's mixed view. One side, brokerages are saying that the Indian revenue business has now seen positive growth on the wireless side, and that's the first time since Jio's entry. So that indicates that ARPU trend is also on the mend, and analysts are penciling in that ARPU could have improved to about 119 rupees compared to earlier numbers of 104 in December. That's the positive side. Negative is that other segments besides India business remain flat or slightly soft. But one thing that you should know is that the Airtel Africa fund, asset monetization is going to come about, whether it is going to be through IPO or something like that. So those kind of things will keep the stock active.
All right, Airtel lower by 2.2%. Wockhardt, meantime, delivered its numbers. Revenue was declined by almost about 49%. It came in sub 500 crore rupees versus the 900 odd crore rupees it delivered at the corresponding quarter. The loss figure, however, did compress at only about 33.5 crore rupees. Wockhardt, remember, has had trouble with the US FDA. All of its major plants are under import alert, and most of its revenue is only coming in from the hospital business. And that perhaps explains why the company has really delivered a loss on the bottom line for the last many quarters. quarter. Stock price down close to 1%. Kunal, TCS today is in the red. Your view?
So the Nifty IT made a bounce back, yesterday, and looking at the chart patterns, I believe TCS is now forming a gravestone doji pattern on the daily charts. Now this is a slightly bearish pattern for the stock price. Also the gap which was created for Nifty IT index and TCS 2 days back, I think is an indication that the stock should go through a downward spiral. So I believe TCS could be a good shorting opportunity at current levels. I would look at targets of closer to 2080, 2060 on the stock price in the near term.
That's the recommendation on a TCS. It's not in the red, but I think it's making its way there. It's completely off the day's high. Hemen, today some of these FMCG names are showing a good bounce, HUL, Dabur, etc. But again, just see the intraday chart. Dabur has as well, along with I think with a lot of individual stocks in the market, given off those gains. What would be your recommendation?
Frankly speaking, Mubina, I'm bearish on the entire FMCG space. What we are seeing is a recovery, not a rally. But nevertheless, it is lever was down for a long time. Coming back to Dabur, stock is in a short, medium, and possibly a longer-term downtrend, Mubina. But we're getting oversold. There is support just around 375, so that seems to be a near-term support, and that should be a level as a stop loss for a hold. An unsustainable bounce seems to be in the offing. We're off from 460 to 377 in a matter of multiple months, Mubina.
All right, so that's the recommendation on a Dabur. It's sluggish today in trade. However, Marico is the stock that's, I think, leading a lot of the FMCG names in trade. Pranay?
Sorry, the stock I missed. Marico you mentioned?
Marico, that's
okay, yeah. So CLSA here clearly says that the commentary has been better than peers and therefore they have a buy recommendation with the target price of 465. That's $100 above the current price. So while the Q4 EBITDA was actually below their own estimates, but PAT exceeded, they believe that positive commentary ahead of industry is going to drive the move in the stock from here. Also the fact that Saffola has been growing better than their own estimates is actually a key positive, but near term again one needs to be a little cautious after this kind of run up, though strong move is expected post monsoon and festive season.
All right, so that's Marico. It's a great mover, 7.5% higher. Along with some of these FMCG names, we're also seeing a good bounce come by in the PSU banking names. One of them is IOB. There's some additional news as well over here in this stock price. The bank plans to sell properties worth 900 crore rupees. It's already looking at around 26 properties where it is going to be garnering 770 crore rupees. It's initiated the sale process as well over there. But this is essentially a part of its plan to divest of all those non-core assets to build up its capital, and I think that's the reason why you are seeing some gains on the stock price. Kunal, you're bearish on Biocon. Why is that?
So the stock corrected, I think, from 620, 625, I think where it tested the 200-day moving average 4 days back or 5 days back. From there on, the stock has corrected almost 10%. Now, when you look at this in the scheme of things, that yes, the indicators go into an oversold territory, when you suddenly see a sharp crack into the stock price. Now, on short-term charts, today you can expect that the stock is bouncing back. But whether this is a bounce which should evolve into a trend, I think the question is, the answer should be no, because the sudden weakness which the stock has gone through, I think indicates that there's a downtrend in the making. Shorting or rallies should be used as shorting opportunities for Biocon. I think around that 560, 560 mark, the stock should face a short-term hurdle. That should be taken as a good range for creating fresh shorts on the stock price.
Okay, so that's a sell on rallies on Biocon at this point of time from Kunal. Hemen, Z Entertainment continues to fall today as well. It's among the big nifty losers. Your view here?
I think the series of lower top, lower bottoms continues, Mubina. There is weakness on the daily and weekly charts. Yesterday we saw some short built up, and that continues today. So outlook remains negative. It's a sell on bounce.
All right, so that's the entertainment. Pranay, another deal terminated by CG Power.
Well, yes, and this was actually something which was expected. So it had actually led to a good run up in the stock. But the fact that it is now not going to sell its assets in Hungary because of certain conditions not being met, that actually comes as a dampener, though the company has said that it will continue to explore options to unlock value over here. The stock is trading rather sideways in today's session.
All right, so that's CG Power for you. McLeod Russell, meantime, as well, is something we want to flag off for the simple reason that this stock, which had been on a losing spree for the last couple of sessions, it looks like today as well, it seems to be indicating that move. Though, mind you, it's off the day's high. It was earlier in the green this after the company announced that it has completed the sale of its 45% stake in the Rwandan arm. Do remember, the entire group is in an effort to sort of pare off debt by selling assets. So this, any sort of stake sale would be important. But for McLeod Russell, of course, it's trouble times because its key revenue generator as well is being sold off. The stock price is down 2.6%. On the other hand, Pranay, we are seeing great gains in Sterlite Tech.
Yes, and the reason for that is promoters having reached an in-principle agreement with the lenders, and as part of that, they will be removing the pledged shares by end of July, according to that communication. So just to jog back, as of March quarter, the promoter holdings stood close to about 53.8%, but out of that, 96.7% was pledged. So if this goes off, then it will be lifting off a big overhang, and that's why the stock is up 4 to 5% in trade today.
Okay, so that's Sterlite Tech for you. Well, 15 stocks done, so we'll just take a quick breather right here on the show. Do come right back. We'll continue with the countdown. Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET. Now let's continue with the countdown of movers and shakers. Today the metal index is seeing a good bounce after the massive fall witnessed yesterday. One stock we want to flag off is NMDC on account of the move seen in Chinese iron ore prices. This after Vale has said that the Brazilian higher court, the court above the local court that had allowed Vale's mine to resume operations, has sort of halted that order. And this is something that has once again put Vale's iron ore production in a limbo, and hence you are seeing iron ore prices surge significantly. Do remember that ever since the disaster that had taken place back in January, shipments as well of Brazilian iron ore have been dwindling, and this is something that has caused sort of a reduction in global iron ore supplies. Okay, Kunal, after TCS, you're also flagging off Tech Mahindra today in trade. What's the reason?
So the stock formed I would say some sort of a bearish resistance at 830 levels, 835, and now it's in process of forming a bearish head and shoulder pattern. Now in technical terms, this kind of a setup in terms of stock taking resistance at higher levels in terms of price wise, and then forming a bearish pattern on the price front, and it's on the verge of breakdown of that 810, 815 level. I believe that bearish completion of this pattern could lead to another 25 to 30 rupees correction into Tech Mahindra. So I think as a short-term play, traders could look at a sell on Tech Mahindra below those key levels of neckline for a target of 785 to 790.
Okay, so that's the view on Tech Mahindra. It's 0.5% lower today in trade. Pranay, what's the news on HDFC Bank? The stock continues to make new record.
Well, the board is going to mull a stock split, and given the hefty share price and solid valuations, they want to encourage more retail shareholding, and therefore the board will be going in for a 2-for-1 stock split on May 22nd.
All right, so that's HDFC Bank, and yeah, board meeting on 22nd May for that stock split. Himen, the IB group continues to crack today. Today as well in trade, IB Housing is among the top Nifty losers, though there's a bit of a bounce from the day's low. What's your recommendation?
Well, frankly speaking, Mobina stock is in a short, medium, longer term downtrend, but we're oversold. We've tested the level price in the last few trading sessions, which has held. Downside appears limited, unsustainable recovery cannot be ruled out, plus we are seeing a 5% long built up. So hold with a stop loss of 670 for a recovery. Maybe.
All right, so that's India Bulls Housing down by 0.4%. GE Shipping is another stock we want to flag off. The company has delivered its fourth quarter numbers. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. We have a revenue growth of 22%, that's all right. But the margin has compressed significantly. It has come down to 35.1% versus more than 40% in the corresponding quarter. The loss, however, has narrowed, so it's certain below-the-line items that have impacted the bottom line. Remember, the company is also going to be having its conference call today at 4 p.m. So watch out for that. Let's see what the company has to say about various moving parts of GE Shipping. One of them, the key one being the Baltic Dry Index, which has been in a bit of a turmoil because of the entire trade war situation between US and China. So GE Shipping is in focus. Excuse me. Kunal, what are you witnessing in the way the stock price of Ujjivan has moved?
So the stock has corrected from 350 levels where there was this news flow which came out for Ujjivan. From those levels it's corrected till almost 307. In terms of chart patterns, there is kind of a distribution pattern in terms of stock, because it's trying to test that 307 levels or 300 levels, yet again. 300 apparently is also a 200-day moving average support for Ujjivan. The stock has been holding on to these levels for almost a month. So a break below 300, which is almost 2% off from current levels, could lead to an entire replication of the range from 300 to 50 on the downside. So traders have to be a bit cautious on this stock at current levels. I believe a trade below 300 or a break below 300 could lead to some sharp selling pressure into the stock price yet again.
All right, so that's the recommendation coming in on an Ujjivan Financial. Pranay, what's the news on Quick Heal?
Well, they will be buying back about 63 lakh shares, and the price that has been set is 275. Well, that is at least a 25% upside from the current levels. Still, it's not really stirring up the stock. In fact, it's down by about 4% in trade today. This buyback is going to be worth about 175 crore rupees of the cash books.
All right, so that's Quick Heal. It's declining 4% at 214 rupees. Hey, man, Gujarat Gas delivered a good set of numbers, and we're going to address that as well in a short while from now. But I think the impact of that is also seen in other gas stocks like an IGL, which is really surging today in trade. What would you recommend viewers and traders do with this stock?
Concern, hold with a stop loss of 303. We are in a shorter term recovery. The longer term charts look positive, but if we have to appreciate further, which is a possibility, we would need a close above 317 Mobina.
All right, so that's the recommendation on IGL. It's now perched at 314 rupees. Well, more earnings reactions then, and we have Navin Fluorine, which has delivered its fourth quarter numbers. Does not look like all that great a set. Well, top line growth has come in at 17% at 244 crore rupees, but the profit has really compressed. 8% of a decline seen on the bottom line. The number has come in at around 35.9 crore rupees. So it's got to do perhaps with the margin performance. But yeah, the stock price as well of Navin Fluorine is seeing a commensurate decline. It's almost 1% gone for the counter today in trade. Kunal, Havells is what you're flagging off. What are you observing and what's the recommendation?
So the stock has a tendency of behaving in a range or trading in a range. So the earlier range for Havells was around 700 to 740. When the stock broke that 740 level, it was also, I think, a 50 DMA resistance where the stock broke out of that. It moved into a higher range of 740 to 780. Now look at the last 1 month of price patterns. The stock has been taking almost 3 times supports at that 740 mark, resistance at 780 mark. So even this time around, the stock is trying to test back its strong support level. In technical terms, we call it as a rectangular channel pattern for Havells, and the stock, if it takes support at the 740 mark, it should try and retest that 780 levels once again. So initiating a buy at current levels could be a good risk-reward trade for Havells.
All right, that's Havells. It's down by about 0.8%. Pranay, lots of news around Godrej Agrovet along with the numbers. There's also that merger proposal that has been withdrawn.
Well, yes, interesting to see what would be the key reason, and that's something which we'll find out in the next half an hour in the management interview. But if you look at the results, the revenue is up a decent 12.5%, but it's not really come with margins. Margins have actually declined 60 basis points. They're now at 5.6%, and profitability has also been flattish. If you just add the exceptional gain, then bottom line reads 120 crores, which would look like a 4x jump year on year. But if you strip that away, then the bottom line is also flattish. So interesting, like you mentioned, would be management comments on why the merger proposal with Astec Life Sciences has been withdrawn.
Well, yeah, that's, I think, a key news when it comes to Godrej Agrovet. In fact, on that note, let me just also pull up the stock price of Astec Life. And yeah, just as expected, the stock price has taken a knock. It's almost about 4% gone today in trade. So Godrej Agrovet holding on 0.5% higher, but Astec Life has declined on account of that merger with Godrej Agrovet being called off. So that as well will be a stock in news that we should flag off. I mean, DCB had of late been seeing a lot of buying momentum today as well. It's higher by about 1/3%. What's your recommendation?
Good, Mobina. We are in a short, medium and longer term uptrend. We have recently posted a fresh all-time high. So outlook continues to be positive. it would be more of a buy on decline. The further upside and a new all-time high seems to be on the cards.
That's a recommendation on DCB. Okay, well, let's talk about PNC Infratech. The company had in a press release spoken about the execution of the share purchase agreement for divestment of its stake in Ghaziabad Aligarh Road project. This is a 35% stake held by the company that is being divested, along with one of its wholly owned subsidiaries. And the total enterprise value is around 1834 crore rupees. But of course, the 35% equity translates to 270 crore rupees. It's being sold to Cube Highways. So this is news flow coming in for PNC Infra, and the stock price is higher by 1.1%. I just want to take a moment to address the news that's appearing on your screens. It's a very important one if we have to talk about the developments when it comes to the US-China trade talks. Remember, after Trump put forward that big threat about sort of increasing tariffs on Chinese products, and that too just 2 days before Chinese officials were to visit Washington. I think China is pulling out all guns. Straight away, it's going to be the vice premier that's going to be traveling to Washington on the 8th to the 10th of May. This is for the 11th round of trade talks. And remember, everyone had their eyes out on whether Chinese officials will indeed go to Washington even after Trump has threatened to increase tariffs. So it looks like he will. And you are seeing a recovery as well come by in the Chinese equity markets. It's green on the screen for that, 0.2% higher. So yeah, that key event to watch out for will actually be taking place, and China will continue with the trade talks. The 11th round of talks, I think, will be held as scheduled, and it is the vice premier himself who will be traveling to the United States for the same. Recovery seen in Shanghai, continued to recover in fact. Now it's higher by almost 1/3%, and it's continuing to go higher. So that's the Shanghai Composite for you. Okay, well, on account of that news, we're out of time, so we'll not be able to address the other two stocks. Himen, thank you for joining in. Kunal and Pranay, to you as well. We'll wrap it up. Coming up next is Markets at Noon.